All right, guys, good morning. It is very, very early. We are going to be taking a road trip from South Florida all the way up to Oviedo, right up here. And we're going to be going to PSI. This has been a modification I've been waiting for a long time. And then today, we're going to get that installed onto the car. And you guys are going to be very shocked of what's going on. And it's going to be a benefit for you, for a lot of you guys that like to go low. So stay tuned, enjoy the ride, and let's get going. All right, got the car all packed up. Additionally, we're gonna be bringing some of the supplies for the invasion of Orlando. We have all the vendors' lanyards there, along with the booth cars. Got my camera gear, more camera gear, clothes, and that's it really. We finally made it over to PSI. Again, they are located in Central Florida, up in the Oviedo area. And I'm excited because we are bagging, but not really. And we're gonna explain that in this video. All right, so we are in the shop right now, and one of the things that I wanted to mention, we said we were gonna bag the car, not entirely, right? There's a reason why I said bag, because technically we're gonna have a air cup system in the front of the G80 because there's so many times that you go up these speed bumps, bad driveways, and your front lip might get damaged or destroyed. So the team at Stanceparts sent over their Stanceparts kits for the front of the G80 just to have that advantage when I'm going through these bad neighborhoods or bad roads in South Florida. But I'm gonna show you guys exactly what we got going on the table and just check it out. All right, guys, these are the AST Moton Coilovers paired up with the Stanceparts kits. This is something that I've been mentioning for a long time on the channel. I've been mentioning that we are getting a set of coilovers, and here they are in person. So I was just discussing it with Adam. Adam's gonna be working on the car, and we were basically discussing what ride height I wanted. I kind of went over some of the old photos from PSI's previous G80, where they built that up. If you guys haven't seen that, you'll see the overlapping photos here. It's been at our events, but I definitely like their stance. So what we're probably gonna do from the AST springs, we're probably gonna go maybe a half inch in the front lower, and also a 1/4 inch lower in the rear. It's kind of hard to judge it right now because there's so much stuff in the back like you guys saw earlier in the video. And in a little bit, we'll probably transfer that over to Corey's car, but I'm excited to see how this looks when it's all done. All right, so one of the most interesting parts of this kit is going tankless or with the tank. And in a little bit, I'm gonna introduce Sean, and Sean's gonna explain exactly what we're talking about. All right, this is Sean from PSI. If you guys haven't seen him before, they do a lot of great videos here at PSI. But Sean, what are we talking about regarding the displacement of the tank or going tankless?
Yeah, so, like anything, we wanna do what's right for the customer. And for Ken, we wanna try to do everything complete. And complete means that we're going to put in the full installation of the Stancepart cup kit, which comes with a pretty big tank. And the tank allows air on demand. Basically, you can open and lift up the cups instantly, or the quickest. I think it's 2 to 3 seconds, I believe.
Yeah, so I was looking on the website, with a tankless, you're looking at 4 to 6 seconds. But with a tanked system, you're looking at 1 to 2 seconds. It's almost instant, right?
Which is what we want, because essentially we're mimicking an axle lift system that's on a Porsche or a Lamborghini with a G80, because we want to be able to run low And then of course, every entrance you go in, you're going to want to raise the car most likely to protect the front lip or whatever we're running. I think you have a Vorsteiner lip, so you definitely want to protect that.
RSC.
Okay, you have RSC. So you have RSC lips, so
it's
you definitely
expensive
want
too.
to protect that.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much everybody with the G80. So we're going to place the tank back in the trunk, and it's going to be on the smaller side of the, basically the fold. So the seat folds like, what is it, 80-20 or 60-40?
It depends on how you want to do your math and stuff, yeah.
So the smaller percentage is on the right side in the trunk, so we're going to mount the tank long ways there so he can still fold down the seats on the bigger side, but still retain the most use of the trunk. So we're going to mount it to the actual trunk panel, which is right here, we have it. And then we'll run the lines down under the car and up to the front to the air cups.
One thing too we just discussed is that the reason why you would probably want the instantaneous, to air up, so to say, for those bad driveways, speed humps, is because I live in South Florida. There's a lot of impatient drivers, right? And you're gonna want that instantaneous to air up, especially if you're trying to go low. But again, we just had that discussion now. So if you guys are thinking about doing the system, think about this before you purchase it, and also have that thought process with your installer.
I'll also add that anytime you order the Moton or ASTs and you want to run a stance cup, we need to know that information, because special platforms are built, special smaller springs are also included to include it, because this is going to take away some of your stroke on the damper. It's also going to add static height in between, because it goes right on top of the top spring and then right under the camber plate, and which we'll talk about that more later when we go through it.
We've been talking about this for quite a little bit, right? Because last year at the Invasion of Orlando, I was discussing about having a lowered car minus the springs, because we'll talk about that later. But also, you guys work hand in hand with Moton AST, right? Developing new parts, especially with unique situations like this, right?
Yeah, so we're a development partner with Moton headquarters in Holland. Everything you see on the table is all made in Holland, actually. But we do all the development work here in the States on new chassis. This isn't so new anymore, but we've developed with the G80, we've developed new products for the G87. So we're that personal touch kind of in the US, and I used to be the distributor of Moton and AST, but now I'm only doing motorsport development and sort of custom development, and that's kind of what brought Ken in here. Him and I got in the discussion of the cost of front lips, like how expensive front lips are, whether it's RSC, whether it's Vorsteiner, whatever that lip is.
Or Alibaba, right? Because you guys work hard for your money, right?
100%.
Because what happens is, the reason why we discussed that, because we actually paired it up with another part from Holland, right? From the Netherlands, and it's from Stanceparts. And we discussed that because how many times do you go up a driveway, whether you live in the tri-state where there's huge craters, or these unusual driveways, you destroy your front lip, right? The money that you spend hard on. So we were discussing that, and you said that Stanceparts and AST Moton is a great pair.
Yeah, because it's in Holland, we can set up and order the coilovers with the Stanceparts cups in mind. Because there's special platforms that Moton develops to work with the Stanceparts, we run a different height of spring to make up for this loss of the travel that you're getting with the cup. But it's also incorporation, and when you order it with the Stanceparts, it's going to come in the box just like you see here, with this already mounted and everything ready to go for the installation. And the cool thing is this is now going to be just like a nose lift, which you see on the Porsche, which you guys see on the Huracans out there, where people are not going to get on an entrance, they raise it, they're good to go. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with Ken's car.
Sean, I think you mentioned this is a true coilover, right? A lot of us that don't know what that means, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so it's a true coilover rear setup, because traditionally in the rear on a G80, on an F80, it's a divorce setup, which means the shock and the spring are separate. And that's how they're designed from the factory. So what our system does, the Moton system in the rear, is it combines the spring and the shock into one, which is right here. And what this does is it makes it easy to change springs, it makes the motion ratio more active, and it has an outboard type setup. So you can actually run a softer spring in the rear, but it actually takes away that spring and allows easy height adjustment, because you're adjusting this just like a coilover that you would in the front that you guys are used to. You adjust it in the same manner with a collar. You're not having to take out the bolt on the lower control arm to adjust the spring. So it's much easier for motorsport. It's also much easier for the street, especially on these heavier G80 cars. So this is on all the G80 and G87 platform. It's also on the A90, A91 platform as well, that we run the true coilover in the rear. So we'll show you that installed, and I'll kind of explain it in person right on the car, so you guys have more of an understanding of what that is.
All right, so look who showed up. We have Corey.
What's up, guys?
F80 Corey no longer posts on Instagram, but he posts on Beamer Invasions all the time. What are you doing in Florida?
Just getting ready for the event that we have in 4 weeks, you know?
And you actually brought your car here.
I did. This is the first time my car's been in Florida, so I'm really excited. It's nice to drive it on the Florida roads.
I was trying to convince Corey. So here's the topic that I wanted to bring it to you guys, right? I'm doing the Stanceparts Aircups, right, with the Moton Coilovers. You had the Stanceparts kits on your V3, KW V3s, and you had some problems. Can you describe those problems?
So basically, the F80 chassis is notorious for being really picky when it comes to the Aircup setup. I did a lot of research online. You know, I ripped through the forums. I talked to a couple guys that are running the setup. Both of them have F82s, so I don't know if there's a difference between the F82 or the F80, but even after changing all the spring rates, the lengths, all that stuff, the car was essentially undrivable for me. So unfortunately, I'm just going to run the KWs without it. So if anyone's looking for some Stanceparts and wants to try it, hit me up and I'll either give you a good deal or maybe give it to you for free if you want to try it. So just let me know. But hopefully Ken, the G80 is probably going to be really good with the setup, and you know, maybe I'll give in and do it, but
I've been trying to convince him, right? Because I think, again, the main thing about this video is that you can be low and also protect your front lip. Obviously, you have your obstacles on the highway that may happen, but if you think about going through all those bad driveways, speed humps, or you have so many people in the car and it lowers your car another ½ inch and you can't make it over that, you know, speed hump, you air up a little bit, and that's going to help you prevent your front lip from cracking.
Even like the transporter. So when I sent my car down here to Florida, I was originally going to do open trailer. You know, my car's PPF'd, but because it was so low, I was forced to go enclosed. So if I had the air cups, then I would have had the convenience of going up. So it is what it is.
It would have saved you probably like $600 maybe, right?
Exactly. No,
So-
absolutely. So if you can do it, you know, but don't try it on an F8X. But if you want to, let me know.
Yeah, or you get some Motons, and again, you could contact the guys here at PSI, speak to Sean, and he'll get you all set up. Definitely let him know that you've seen this video and it kind of makes you feel like, hey, I need to go lower and also protect my front lip, or, you know, just have that stance life again, you know? All right, Sean, now that Adam has installed the rear coilover on the driver's side, you were mentioning this is a true coilover for the rear. Something that I never heard before, and something that I'm gonna tell you guys from Sean.
Yeah, so traditionally on G80s, F80s, all the way back to really E30, and actually all the way back even before that, it's a divorced rear setup. And what that means is the shock and the spring are completely separate. They're not a coilover type design. So this is the factory spring, and this is the factory shock. So this is outboard, which means it's installed outboard towards the wheel of the shock, and then the spring is actually a lot more inboard. So it's actually, the spring is actually back behind where we have the Moton already mounted, and it goes on this lower perch here, and we've actually removed that. So that will not be put back, and we've installed in the place of the shock and the spring, the coilover rear, which is a specific width and a specific diameter rear spring in order to fit within all the crazy arms that the G80 has, but all have it into one. And what this gives you the ability to do is you can actually adjust the ride height with the perch, just as you would the front damper, but now you can do that with the rear to kind of fine tune the suspension and fine tune the setup. And just like Ken, I run a bunch of different wheels on my cars to show off the wheels and stuff that we do here at the shop, and
Exactly.
Ken's gonna be running a couple different sets. So this gives you that ability to quickly adjust the height while the car's in the air without having to loosen the lower control arm or do any of that and get that fine tuning. So that's a really cool plus for that. It also gives you the ability to run racing springs in the rear and not have to run a progressive style spring like this in the rear. So you'll see like a traditional V3 from KW, for example.
Correct.
They run a divorce setup just like OEM, and they have a progressive spring in the rear. So this is a little bit of a change up from that, and one something I wanted to focus on in this install.
And also too, like, you could customize your setup, right? So if somebody called you, hey, Sean, I really want to take this to the track, but it's more like I'm looking to build it up eventually, right? Maybe they don't have the funds right away and they're working towards that, because Moton AST, you guys have a very user-based platform where you can build it up.
Yeah, I mean, they're custom made. There's a lot of stuff that's on the shelf typically that you can get in a quick turnaround, but we can also build custom for spring rates. We can also build custom damper lengths. So if you wanted to run super low but still have some travel, we can actually add some length to the dampers. We can actually fine tune every single aspect of this for a certain setup. And there's also upgradability, because we have 2 service centers in the country, one in North Carolina in Mooresville in NASCAR country, and one which is also called PSI, which is Performance Shock Inc., who is known for like doing all the road race adjustments and road race rebuilds. They do all the Moton stuff. So they can actually take a one-way, make it into a two-way, make it into a three-way, and upgrade as you go and as you get more into track focus use of the car.
As you can see, they're very busy here at PSI. But Sean, we'll definitely touch base with you as we go further with the install.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm very excited. I think this is gonna be the first setup with this, I guess, combination, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and it's just gonna, I can't wait to see your reaction once we get everything on and you go for a drive.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So Sean, one of the things that if you guys go through coilovers, right, and you're trying to get the perfect fitment, especially if you're the type of person that I am, right, you want the flush fitment. On a stock spring setup, right, you're not gonna have the adjustment for your camber. In your hands is actually a AST Moton Coilover, and you were mentioning earlier, you could adjust your camber no problem with the set.
Yeah, so this is the Moton one-way we'll put on Ken's car with this. This is the cup, this is the Stanceparts cup, and this has already been assembled. But what we want to focus on right now is we're talking about the camber plate. So from the factory, from BMW, there's not a camber plate, which means there's no camber adjustment in the front. You just get what you get. And especially like what Ken had, he had the AST lowering springs, which are great lowering springs, but it doesn't add any adjustment for the camber. You're going to get the lowness that you wanted, you're going to get the ride that you wanted, but you stick with the stock shock and the stock assembly up top. So with the Moton one-way, this is a camber plate, it slides, but it's independently slides from the bolts, and these are the mounting bolts. So the cool thing about this is anybody that knows the G80s knows there's no access from the top. In previous generations, there was a slot or there was a bigger hole where you could get in there, adjust some Allen screws to adjust the camber. There is no access on G80, G87. So what we've developed, what Moton developed with us, is this is a pinched sort of camber plate that uses the stock hardware. So in order to adjust the camber, you can loosen these up on the top of the shock, which is the top of the shock tower, and then underneath you can actually freely slide this to adjust the camber. More camber for negative into positive camber, so we can get the fitment right for his wheels, or when I change wheels, or when you go to the track, you want to put a different set of wheels and tires, a different setup, we need to be able to adjust the camber. And when we get his car on the alignment rack, we can show this in action and show the adjustment and how important it is. It's not important for everyone, but if you're going to run different wheels, if you're going to run a different setup, if you're going to change your lip setup, adjust your ride height, you need to be able to adjust the camber so you don't wear your tires, or you get the turn in and everything that you want at the track. So it's a really crucial thing to add in, especially on the coilovers, and it's a really trick setup to be able to do that.
And one of the things too that I kind of noticed, right, when you pair different coilovers with different camber plates, you know, two different companies, sometimes they may not fit directly, right? You may have issues where noise happens or just the fitment's not there. But again, the guys and team at Moton AST, they built it into this coilover set, and they took into mind that adjustments need to be made, right? That's why he talked about exactly this unique setup. But Sean, I'm really excited, man. As we go through this process and we're taking you guys along, I'm super stoked to see how this looks and actually operates.
Yeah, so another thing I'll point out, which you can't really see here because the cup is blocking it, is that there's a special platform that Moton's developed to run with the Stanceparts, which actually acts as a bearing in there for where this mainspring sits, way up there in the Stancepart. And that just helps this glide a lot better. It helps it move around because the damper does turn and move when it's on the car, and now that it's mounted with the Stancepart, it's going to come together and be a whole setup just like this. So let's get this other side on and get this moving forward.
All right, so what I will say though, if you guys are looking for a shop to get your car worked on in the Central Florida area, the guys at PSI, I'm telling you, they do incredible builds. One of the most recent builds that you'll see at the Invasion of Orlando is actually their E91 M3 wagon swap. I can't wait to see that in person. I didn't get to see it at SEMA, but maybe this following year I'll get to go to SEMA and kind of see all the interesting builds. But again, this shop here does incredible work on BMWs, and if you're looking for a unique swap or something unique to build, the guys here kind of get that taken care of. All right, so the video you guys are currently watching, we're gonna be breaking it up into two different videos because there's so much content to put in one video. I'm actually back in PSI, which you'll see in the third video, and we're actually gonna dial in the suspension because you probably already seen we have new wheels, right? It's newish wheels because we got the wheels refinished at AR Motorworks, and what they did was they made it a little bit more aggressive than the last set, and they also refinished the face of the wheel. So definitely tune in for these episodes. I think you guys are gonna enjoy the change between how this car looks right now to how it's gonna look currently. So stay tuned, guys. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I want to thank the team over at PSI for getting this all done, and I'll see you guys on the second episode.
Top 10 radar, yeah, we on your radar. Never miss, dog, and that's on occasion. Yeah, we on your radar. Yeah. Hey, look, top floor lifestyle, chef and boy, I'm cooking up. Way too high, ain't coming down, you see me